Hi, this is Heather Picken, and welcome to the Woman on Fire Entrepreneur Podcast. How to break through anything, become unstoppable, and be profitable. Learn how to align your mind. Yeah, I call that activating your money mojo. Market to your ideal clients and make money doing what you love. Tired of struggling and trying to figure things out? Do you tend to stop when things get tough? Well, I'm here to steer the ship out of the sea of overwhelm so that you can attract money and success in your business now. Grab your favorite beverage, let's fire it up, get inspired, and live life at your highest potential. Here's Heather with her co-host Chihuahua, Frankie Lee. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Woman on Fire Entrepreneur Show. I am your host, Heather Picken, and I'm always inspired and on fire to bring guests all around the world sharing their mission and purpose and really inspiring other women to build successful businesses online. And I'm so excited to have my guest today, Tina Dietz, and she's going to be talking about the power of audio and unleashing your business actually in a very big way. And she talks about riding that audio revolution to really make an impact in your business. So Tina, thank you so much for being my guest today.
Well, thanks for having me, Heather. It's nice to be back with you again. You and I have played a couple of times, and it's always a blast.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I love this topic about, getting your business unleashed, like putting yourself out there in a big way and using audio. So for those people that are hearing us on iTunes, I mean, this is a perfect example of getting your work, getting your message out there. So when you're talking about using audio, what are some of the different ways that people can do that?
Well, there's a bunch, and you can get really creative with audio. It's one of the most durable forms of media. We've had it electronically for a very long time, longer than we've had video. And, we can go back even further than that to sitting around the campfires telling stories. But in the digital age right now, how businesses are using audio the most are with podcasting, like we're doing right now, with audiobooks, which is experiencing a huge surge in popularity and enormous amounts of growth, not just flash in the pan growth, but sustained growth. And then we have other modalities as well, like webinars, which can be audio or audio visual, telesummits, which are going the way of the dodo, but nonetheless do have some interesting applications if they're done right. Audio programs, these are something that have been around for many years, and something Tony Robbins and Zig Ziglar, their audio programs have outsold and out-downloaded their books many times over. And it goes, on and on from there.
I love that because, we're living in a world now where, technologies are just changing so quickly.
Yes.
And especially if you're not riding the wave of getting yourself out there in a digital format, I think you're really missing the boat. So if you could, let's kind of backtrack and share a little bit with our listeners that are listening to this on iTunes, or you're watching it over on YouTube, a little bit about how you help people and, talking about this whole conversation with the audio format.
Well, my story goes back really far. The family legend says that somebody handed me a tape recorder when I was 2 years old. I still have the tape. And first thing I started doing was interviewing people. And that tape recorder became my boon companion for many years. I traded it in for a boom box in the 80s. So now you know how old I am. and from there, and then it went digital, later on. So the two things in my life that have been the most enduring and the most durable, the things I really love in my life, have been books and the sound of my own voice. True story.
I love it.
So, and other people's voices too, but I got to be real and say I've always loved to be in front of a microphone. And so because I've had that love my whole life and I've always been looking for ways to get in front of a microphone, it turns out that I have been producing audio in some ways and finding ways to use audio that come very naturally to me, but yet now in this particular point in time are very, very popular and kind of at the forward edge of what's happening in terms of global marketing, in terms of helping people really unleash, like you said, unleash the voice of their business and get the word out. So in addition to being a business coach for many years, I'm a fourth generation entrepreneur, so it's born and bred into me. I've been a voice actor for many years and always have done it as kind of a paid hobby. And when I found that there was this big gap in knowledge between nonfiction authors, especially folks who are doing, big bestseller campaigns or looking to use book authoring as a way to promote themselves as a speaker, as kind of let's call it a very upgraded business card in order to get speaking gigs, in order to develop programs. Well, I found that all of those folks, many of whom are my colleagues or clients, didn't understand how to get an audiobook produced or how to get onto podcasts or how to turn their programs into audio programs. And that's where I started developing products for people, helping people close that gap in knowledge, and also just showing them, hey, this is the data you need to look at. We've had such a surge in ebooks in the last 10 years. What many people don't understand and don't realize is that audiobooks outsell ebooks 3-1.
Wow. Yeah, that's incredible. And looking at, you've got to be doing this for your business right now. You said you have experience in doing some voiceovers or being an actress. And that way, what about people that are not confident? Because I really believe that confidence is king or queen.
Yes,
you
exactly.
Can't put yourself out there with your voice. Like, what are some of the tips and strategies that you would recommend for people that are going, I don't know where to start and I'm not confident?
Sure, absolutely. I usually recommend for folks, if they're not being interviewed on podcasts like this one, if you haven't reached out to be on shows, to be interviewed, it's actually a great place to start because there's a lot of safety in being interviewed and having a partner in crime, as it were, rather than having to present a speech and do a presentation and God forbid, the PowerPoint slides. I have a hate relationship with PowerPoint. And so podcasts are a great way to get publicity, to get promotion, and also to create a bit of a safety net for yourself. If you don't have to have an awesome voice, like in terms of its timbre and pitch and all these other things. You just need to be yourself and you need to be interesting and you need to have a microphone. That's pretty much, here's the case, here's mine.
Right.
Right. And you can email folks who have shows, keyword the shows that resonate for you, go into iTunes, go into the podcast section, start seeing who's there, go back to their websites and start filling out their guest applications. Most shows or a lot of shows have places where you say, would you like to be a guest? Here's what we need for you. Start there. And start playing the who do you know game, my favorite game in business. Who do you know that has a show? Do you have any colleagues who may have been on shows that they can refer you to, that they can do warm introductions? That's a great place to start. As for the audiobook side of things, I'd say 95% of the time, I don't recommend that authors voice their own books. It's actually more expensive and incredibly more time-consuming and endlessly more frustrating to voice a book yourself rather than working with a professional. Obviously, I'm biased. This is one of the things I do for people, not as a voice actor, but as a producer and as someone who's actually helps people launch their audiobooks. But I have a tribe of more than 150 voice actors, professional folks who specialize in audiobook production, and I have access to 4,000 more. So it's so beautiful for an author to have a file or have their whole audiobook to show up in their inbox, done to the way they want it done, the sound they want it done, the type of voice they want it done, and to not have to do the work themselves. And it's funny, audiobooks are one of the only things on the planet that has dropped in production costs in the last 7 to 8 years. It's dropped about 50% since 2009.
Wow. Yeah. I love what you're saying about that, like taking your book and making it into an audiobook, because I know for me personally, like when I'm working out at the gym, that's what I listen to. I listen to audiobooks, I listen to programs. So imagine, people that are watching or listening to this right now, how you can really, tap into your highest potential by getting your work out there. And what do you find? So, obviously you like using podcasts and iTunes, contacting other people. Are there any other formats or things that you highly recommend people to get really prepared so that they have a really good audio presentation?
Well, specifically in terms of being interviewed?
Either being interviewed or in their marketing plan. Like what are some of the tips as far as, let's focus on this one first. What do you find are some of the biggest mistakes that people make when they're doing anything with audio? Let's start there, and then what they need to know.
Yes, in trying to imitate Don Pardo and come on down and be an announcer and have a really big voice. That's a really big mistake. Trying to make your voice something that it's not, rather than simply being yourself. Because the microphone can seem very impersonal. And this is why I recommend starting with being interviewed. Even if it's something you're playing with a colleague and going back and forth and practicing interviews and role playing, you're not rehearsing to memorize your content. That will come kind of on its own because you're an expert, your stuff. It's going to come out of you, be natural with it. But what you need to learn how to do is to be flexible and be playful. If you could do anything to improve your skills in terms of being interviewed, or you want to really have a voice that's flexible, I recommend that you take an improv class. That's one of the best things that you can do. Or do what I call transformational karaoke, which is where you go out and do karaoke. I will do karaoke with you. I will do karaoke anytime, any place.
I love karaoke.
Yes, I love it. And I have had many friends and colleagues and acquaintances have major breakthroughs in self-expression with karaoke when they're with me, because they get up and I say, just do it like you would do it if you were holding a hairbrush in front of a mirror. Just go full out. Just go nuts and sell it and be it and do it like you were a kid. We don't give ourselves permission to do that. And there's an old rule in acting, and it goes with voice acting, regular acting, improv, anything like that, and that it's always easier to pull it back than it is to push it out. So if you can make your self-expression big, it's probably going to feel big to you. It's not going to feel that big to other people, because other people can really take it. Even for those of us, I'm one of these people who's been told many times in life, whoa, you need to take it back a notch. You're really intense. You find ways to just speak to the room and include people along for the ride. So it's always better to go big than to kind of, worry, maybe I should do a little here, maybe I should do a little there. Let yourself shine.
I love what you're saying, because it's really about being authentic. I know for me personally, I'm kind of goofy and silly, but also very serious. And there's I think there's a time for both. And it's funny that you mentioned the improv thing. I'm actually taking a class because I want to brush up on my comedian skills. I am a comedian in training. So I think that's awesome. And it gives people that sense of confidence and projection of voice, and really kind of also, I think what improv will do for people is to think quick on their feet, because let's just say if you're doing an interview, you're being interviewed or you're interviewing someone else. You have to have those skills to, navigate the conversation if someone gets off track. I mean, wouldn't you agree? Those are just really great skills to prepare you.
Absolutely essential. And it's going to always come back to you. And when you're on somebody's show and you're engaging and you're fun and you give good information, then, you have the beginnings of a great relationship. And the same with, and this then spills over into your networking, and it spills over into your conversations with clients and potential clients. And you become more and more of yourself. It's the old Dr. Seuss saying, no one can be you-ier than you. So
I love that.
Just that's what we're always searching for as entrepreneurs, to bring more of ourselves to the table. And people know it. People know when we're being us.
It's so true. And I just love that conversation about being authentic, because we live in a world today where, it can get overcrowded. The marketplace can get saturated, and how you stand out as being authentic, whether that be goofy, silly, serious, whatever that is, like finding what is really unique about you. Because I think a lot of people are watching and listening to this thinking, well, I have nothing special. Who am I, to put myself out there? So what would you say to those people that have that kind of, negative dialogue going on in their head right now?
Stop it. Practice stopping it. Okay. And I know it sounds really, and it's funny because I'm a therapist by training, and this is why this is why I'm a coach instead of a therapist, because this is the secret to the universe right here. If there's something that's in your way, your job is to catch when you're doing it and choose something else. That is the whole of it. Analyzing it, beating it to death, wondering where it comes from in your past, those are all worthwhile things to do to a certain extent. But the name of the game is shifting it in the moment. And I know we're kind of, getting into a whole other topic here, but, just this bringing it back to your voice. A lot of people worry about things like, well, what if I say and even when we're doing it, it feels weird. It's like, okay, and you can't stop yourself, right? That is all about fear. That's all about worrying if you're going to look good. Are you going to say the right thing? Is it going to be okay? And the key to calming your fear in any given moment across your entire life is nothing more than taking a pause and taking a breath. Most of the solutions to people's voice issues or being concerned about what they're going to say have to do with being willing to stop and inhale and exhale and take that pause and have the quiet in just a second. No one's going to die. No one's going to wonder if the world is falling apart if there's a pause in the conversation. Should we do an experimental pause?
Sure.
5-second experimental
Yes.
pause. Can you handle it?
Yes.
Right. Go. Just a little moment of quiet.
Exactly. Okay. And I will say this too, when people are nervous, it's really their sense of who is going to be listening that I feel is smarter than me. So they're minimizing themselves. And so they really have to look at, wait a minute, I can own my power. I can own my greatness. I can just be me. And I really think that's the bottom line. Don't try to be anyone else but yourself, and find your unique voice, your talents. And I really find that, when you're not being who you are, I think you're playing small. I think a lot of people are playing small, and they start beating themselves up because they start saying, well, who am I to really put myself out there? And it goes back to what you've been saying all along, is being authentic, being you, finding your voice, taking those improv classes and not holding back.
Yes, exactly. And it goes for the things that we do in our business on a more material sense as well. When folks come to me, when we do product development like audiobooks, there's some concern because sometimes the launch of a book or a launch of a product hasn't gone that well in the past, because there is so many moving parts. There's so many moving parts to a launch. It's a lot to learn. Nobody does it perfectly the first time or even the 10th time. And people who are excellent at doing product launches, they've done it 20, 50, 100, 150 times, and it's okay. It's just this process that we go through. And the same, so, sometimes folks have created a book and they see such potential for it, but the initial launch didn't go that well. And so that's one of the things that people come to me for, is to give their book and their message new life through an audiobook, and to give it another chance to get out to people's hands and their ears and their minds where that message needs to be.
I love that. And just kind of reiterating the power of your voice instead of just marketing with plain text or a blog,
Oh,
really
sure.
taking it to the next level. Because I really do find the connection of the voice and the video, it really draws people in, like your ideal clients listening to you. They can really have that sense of connection. Like, do I want to work with this person? This person has something to offer. Whereas if they're just reading an ebook or text, there's not that level of connection.
Exactly. There's a real privilege between, you're quite literally getting in somebody's ear. There's a neurological process even behind all that. It's a great privilege to be granted access to somebody's brain like that. And that's why, when we produce audio, we want it to be high quality. We don't want it to be irritating, and so we take a little time to have a decent microphone and to have high quality audio and to go through an editing process. And not everybody knows how to do all of that. And that's why it's good to work with a team, and it's good to work with people who have experience to take the fear out and to put the knowledge in so that you can really shine.
I definitely agree. Yeah. So having a plan, working with someone, because I personally think it's really hard to figure out all these things on your own. So getting fast track to get some coaching and mentoring. Tina, this has been absolutely fantastic. I know time has just flown by, and I know you've got a special offer that you want to share with our listeners and viewers. And for those people that are either watching or listening, just go to the show notes and you'll find that link. So Tina, tell us a little bit about that.
Oh, sure. I mean, we've only had a few minutes together, so you guys are just getting to know me, but you're more than welcome to reach out to me through my website at StartSomething, creativebizsolutions.com, or I'll just tell you, you can email my team directly and get in touch with me through info@StartSomethingCreativeBizSolutions.com. If you want to go ahead and explore how an audiobook is going to be part of your business and your marketing, we look at everything inside of a larger context. I am not a Band-Aid person. We don't want to put a Band-Aid on your marketing. We don't want to go forward on anything that's not going to really serve you. So I do these full-on strategy sessions, and they're usually about $300, but because Heather invited me on the show, if you go to the website and go to the shop and you book a strategy session with me and you enter the word Heather at checkout, then it's $97, and that's a full hour one-on-one coaching session with me, plus the recording, plus we do a full business assessment, and we'll look at your book. We also do it for podcasting, and we'll make sure that you're on the right track and it's a good choice for you, so that you can self-produce or you can work with a team.
Awesome, Tina. Well, thank you so much. And again, I encourage all of our watchers, viewers, or listeners to go check that out. You can check it out at the show notes and the link below. And before we go, Tina, is there any last words that you want to leave, these on fire women entrepreneurs that have a vision, they want to get their voice out there, but maybe they're just a little bit overwhelmed? What would that be? One thing?
So it can definitely be overwhelming. And it's always a matter of just doing the next thing, one next action in front of you. And if you want to get your voice out there and you're not quite sure which direction to go in, then what I would recommend that you do is to find some shows like Heather's that you love to listen to, and then go and see what they ask for in terms of their guests, and start putting together some information, bounce it off your colleagues, and just start experimenting. Allow yourself to be curious about what's next for you. Your next step is just right in front of you, and it's always better to be out there, be yourself, and go as big as you can stand it, because you're always going to reach more people that way. And you're worth it.
I love that. Well, Tina, thank you so much for being my guest.
My absolute pleasure, my dear. I love your show. You're doing great things here.
Thank you. And I want just to leave a final message for everyone out there is you've got a mission and purpose, and never devalue yourself. Know that you are so worthy in getting out there with your bigger mission and purpose. So make sure that you use all the resources that my guests have provided. Until next time, this is Heather Picken. Take care. So if you found this show to be helpful, please hashtag WOFE, that stands for Woman on Fire Entrepreneur, and subscribe to this show in iTunes and leave me a review. I want to know how these shows have helped you. I also want to know the number one thing that you're struggling with the most in your business. Every week, I give away complimentary sessions to help you get it clear on your next steps and to activate your money mojo. You can learn more about my work if you go to www.heatherpicken.com.